church was set up to where we had a chair where I was in front of everyone and you were facing me. The one thing that you did was you had me hold out my legs, and as I'm looking, it appeared to be about 1.5 inches difference from how feet met. And I had known about that for years because I had an accident that caused my pelvic bone to tilt, so I knew that one leg was, as far as when I walked, not hitting evenly. You began to pray, and I just started crying. And I said, oh my gosh, because I literally watched my leg, felt a sensation of my leg actually lengthening and coming out to where they were even. I know God works miracles, but it was still a shock to see it happen in front of my eyes. That is something that for years has contributed to issues that I've had if I have to walk for any length of time because of the area in your spinal cord. And I thought it was interesting that you had said that afterwards when we had spoke, you weren't looking at my feet to see the difference, but more at my pelvic area because you knew from past experience where the healing needed to take place and what was going on. So I was just overcome and truly blessed to be a part of a miracle.
Amen.
Thank you so much, Donna. God bless you.
Thank you.
And we'll talk to you some more. Now, our last guest is Pastor Mike, and he's going to share with you what happened to him. His name is Pastor Mike Miller, and he used to be a police officer here in Louisville. So I'm going to ask Pastor Mike to share with you. Hi, Mike. Yeah, we are, Mike. We in the studio. Would you share with us what God did for you?
Yes, sir, I sure will, Dr. Dan and Dr. Frank Simon. Thank you for having me. Back in December and January, we had the great honor to have Dr. Dan in a 6-week healing revival. And before I get this real quick testimony, I just want to give Jesus Christ all the glory for what happened. We had Dr. Dan come, and for 22 years as a police officer, I served in the community, and 8 years as a military paratrooper. So I have struggled with serious neck and back pains for a long time. We had Dr. Dan there. I just had him lay hands on me in the name of Jesus. To make a long story short, because I know you're all probably crushed on time, I went out and ran 3 miles a day, 8-minute miles. God has touched me, and I just want to give Jesus Christ all the glory for what we experienced at our church. And I would highly recommend, maybe for those that are listening or going to watch this at a later date, that have Brother Dr. Dan come out for a healing revival there at your church or your ministry. You won't regret it. Thank you all for having me today.
That's great. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Pastor Mike. God bless you.
Yes, we love you all. God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. We better go on. There's a lot going on. You got some videos you want to show us?
I've got plenty of stuff. Depends on what you got. We'll compare which ones we got going
Well, you
here.
go first.
Well, we're going to swap out here. And even though we start with what looks like something here, we're going to start with Mitch McConnell.
We're talking about the coronavirus and where it came from and was it made and how did it get all over?
Get started on another one. What that clip was about is, believe it or not, if you could look at how much pork has actually been passed in the last, Dr. Simon, I believe President Trump loves the people so much that under normal circumstances, he would not have even begun to even let any of that stuff through, but he cannot let the people down. He cannot let the people die or whatever. And unfortunately, there's a pattern here. We see that. That's what we're going to see here, in one step after another. This is a $3 trillion thing, and it includes references.
Mitch
McConnell was saying it includes references to
marijuana,
but very few references to actual jobs. More references to marijuana than jobs. That's how crazy it is.
Let me say something about what Dan just did. Those are fantastic, real live testimonies of real live people that receive a healing from God, and that's very important anytime, but especially now that there's so much sickness going around and fear, that to realize that God is in control and God still heals people, that is very important. So that's Mitch McConnell. That was good.
That was Mitch McConnell. That was all this week. Got a lot for this week. But
Okay.
now Rand Paul is our next one up here. We can't hear at the moment what's being played. They were in a Senate session, and it was telecast live. Rand Paul has come out this week. He's come out very strongly for the citizens of Kentucky. He's actually backing up the citizens to open up Kentucky, and that's his main emphasis. What he pointed out, and he had this conversation with Dr. Fauci, and he said he's got this empirical data that he's sharing with him. Part of what he's saying is there's other evidence here that shows, even talking about in Sweden, there's evidence.
Absolutely.
We should be looking at some of that as well. It goes on a little bit more.
I want to say a few things about it.
Okay.
Bill Gates had a meeting on how to deal with COVID-19 a month before there was a COVID-19 epidemic. Yeah. And it was a secret meeting. He didn't allow the public in there. That's very suspicious. How did Bill Gates know there was going to be an epidemic a month before it occurred? It's called the 201 pandemic preparation meeting. Of course, Charles Lieber is a Harvard professor, and he's been arrested because he was working with the Chinese and didn't tell anybody. He was getting paid $50,000 a year for working with the Chinese Communist Party. The Communist Chinese in the city of Wuhan is where the epidemic started, and China allowed flights out of Wuhan all over here to the United States and all over the world, which obviously is going to spread the virus, but he did not allow the flights to go into the rest of China
for at least a week.
That tells us the whole story.
And you got to realize this is the other thing that goes with that. First, they started blaming it on the wild market, the meat market. And then now they reopened that. So if they were going with that first theory, they're subjecting the world to it again.
Let me say one other thing. There was one doctor in Wuhan that tried to warn the world, hey, there's a big contagious epidemic here in Wuhan. The Chinese communists, they put him in jail and he died. Now that tells you a lot about this virus and who made it, where it came from, why they made it, and why so many people do not want America to get back to work. Is that right? You got anything about that?
It definitely does. I don't have specifically on that. I kind of covered some of this week. I do have a picture of how our state is actually progressing. One of the points that Rand Paul made was there are more cases, and he knows there are more cases of the flu in Kentucky than there are coronavirus.
The coronavirus was not as harmful as the regular seasonal flu that we have every year. And yet they're closing the schools, they're closing the jobs, they're closing everything. Now, I think there's one other thing we need to mention. It's primarily the Democrat-controlled states that are closing and staying closed. Is that right?
It's a whole lot of them. You'll find it's an East Coast, West Coast, Northeast type of thing.
Do you have anything on that?
I do, but I'd have to skip around to the very end on all that. Now, I just heard on the way in, my wife said, yeah, the Michigan governor is really intoxicated on power. She really likes the fact that the legislators are going to be out soon, and she won't have to worry about those pesky legislators messing with her. And we'll have the same situation that our governor has.
Coronavirus has become a political weapon against the people that hate America want you to never go to work again. They want to keep you in your house forever. So that's the garbage that's going on in the fake news and the media, everything. It's fake news. Like Senator Rand Paul said, if you're younger, like under, what did he say, 20 or 30?
18, it's next to zero.
You have about zero chance of getting this.
Like a 1 in 10,000 chance, like 45 or something like that.
Unbelievable. And still our Democrat governor, Brashear, says, oh, no, we don't want you to go back to work. We don't want you to go to church. But yet all of the abortion clinics are open full speed ahead, and all the liquor stores are open full speed ahead. So what's going on? It's just fraud.
The big stores. Brother Lee watched
yes.
He did an excellent job with that and pointing that out the other night in his own video. And he pointed out the fact that all these big outfits seem to have just
remain open. Yeah. Okay. Do you got anything else, or are we going to have to call it quits?
I think we'll have to call it quits today.
Okay, John. Thank you very much. And thank Brother Dan Bosman for giving us all those testimonies about God's healing. God bless you. Oh, we have a video of those doctors giving the facts. Facts are coming out now. Before, we just had propaganda, but now we're getting the facts. And if you want the doctors and their point of view rather than these left-wing deep staters, give us a call, 502-895-5025. Give us a call and we'll send you a free video. God bless you, and tune in again next week. Hi, I'm Dr. Frank Simon. I'm an allergist and family doctor, board certified in both allergy and internal medicine. I specialize in allergy, headaches, sinus, hives, cough, asthma, hypertension, and diabetes. We're located at 1404 Browns Lane near Norton Suburban Hospital. Our phone number is 895-5088. We can see you tomorrow. Hi, this is Frank Simon with the rest of the news. We've got some tremendous program to show you, and we're going to begin with a video of Levin. He's got some very good points to make, so let's try it. Mark Levin.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin. This is a special edition of Life, Liberty, and Levin. And if you care about your country, your liberty, and the nature of your government, you'll watch this program throughout the full course of the hour. It's very, very important. I want to go back to the beginning. On March 2nd, 2017, I got behind the microphone on my radio show after spending an hour pulling together various articles, and something had occurred to me. The Obama administration, and subsequently the FBI and other entities in the federal government, were sabotaging the new president of the United States. And then as I looked further, I realized they had been sabotaging candidate Trump and then President-elect Trump. And I went through it on March 2nd, and all hell broke loose. Then on March 5th, I appeared on Fox and Friends Sunday with Pete Hegseth, and I went through the various exhibits that I had found, and there were more, to lay out the case further of the coup, the massive spying and leaking that had taken place in the Obama administration against Trump world. And we shouldn't be surprised by this. We have since learned that the Obama administration put spies in the Trump campaign, leaked incessantly to the press, the unmasking, which we'll get to later, 39 individuals involved in unmasking, Mike Flynn, unbelievable. The fraud committed against the FISA court, falsified documents, and on and on and on. But the mindset of the Obama administration was always about using clandestine and other activities, illegal activities, against their perceived opponents. There's a great piece in National Review last week by David Harsanyi, and he points out, among other things, by 2016, the Obama administration's intelligence community had normalized domestic spying. Obama's Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, famously lied about snooping on American citizens to Congress. His CIA Director, John Brennan, oversaw an agency that felt comfortable spying on the United States Senate, with at least 5 of his underlings breaking into congressional computer files. His Attorney General, Eric Holder, invoked the Espionage Act to spy on a Fox News journalist, James Rosen, shopping his case to 3 judges until he found one who let him name the reporter as a co-conspirator. The Obama administration also spied on the Associated Press reporters with a news organization called a massive and unprecedented intrusion. And I might add, they also spied on James Risen, a New York Times reporter. And though it's been long forgotten, Obama officials were caught monitoring the conversations of members of Congress who opposed the Iran nuclear deal. And I would add the use of the IRS against the Tea Party and conservative organizations. The most lawless administration in modern history was the Obama-Biden administration. Now, with that context, I want to remind you of what took place here, right on Fox News, March 5th, 2017, Sunday, on Fox and Friends, as we go through the context of what's happening today. Go.
You laid out a devastating case about executive overreach of the Obama administration, which many believe metamorphosized itself to tweets that President Trump sent out on Saturday morning accusing potential wiretapping in Trump Tower. We want to give you a case here this morning to lay out what you know about it and the evidence you have for the potential executive overreach of the Obama administration.
Well, pleasure to be here. The evidence is overwhelming. This is not about President Trump's tweeting. This is about the Obama administration's spying. And the question isn't whether it's spied. We know they went to the FISA court twice. The question is, who did they spy on? The extent of the spying. All right, let's stop here. I want to remind you, folks, all I had was public reports that I had pulled together. No inside information whatsoever. Go. That is, the Trump campaign, the Trump transition, Trump surrogates. And I want to walk you through this, the American people. Exhibit 1. Head Street. 2 separate sources with links to the counterintelligence community have confirmed that the FBI sought and was granted a Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Act report. This is spying. In October, giving counterintelligence permission to examine the activity of, quote, U.S. persons in Donald Trump's campaign with ties to Russia. Let me go on. This isn't me. They say the first FISA request, sources say, named Trump, was denied back in June, denied by the court. But the second was drawn more narrowly and was granted in October after evidence was presented of a server possibly related to the Trump campaign and its alleged links to 2 banks. Now, sources suggest that a FISA warrant was granted to look at the full content of emails and other related documents that may concern U.S. persons. Now, I know people are hung up with Trump's word wiretapping. Well, how'd they get access to this server information? Does it really matter if it was wiretapping, electronic surveillance, or whatever it was? Now, remember, ladies and gentlemen, remember, I'm just basing it on the information that's in the public record. But I knew, as a former chief of staff to the Attorney General of the United States in the Reagan administration, Ed Meese, these leaks were serious. They were close enough to the target. Obviously, I couldn't verify it, but the reporters went with it. And I knew they had to be coming out of the FBI or some intelligence agency or all of them. Go. Exhibit 2, The Guardian, a well-known right-wing British paper. Here it is. Quote, The Guardian has learned the FBI applied for a warrant from the Foreign Intelligence Surveillance Court over the summer in order to monitor 4 members of the Trump team suspected of irregular contacts with Russian officials. Keep in mind, this is during a presidential election. The sitting president, the incumbent party, is now investigating the presidential candidate of the Republican Party and his campaign to some extent. The FISA court turned down the application asking FBI counterintelligence investigators to narrow its focus. According to one report, the FBI was finally granted a warrant in October. Folks, you can see right here at the beginning, I'm laying out the information that I found.
That was the first part.
Now, that is unbelievable. It makes me think of Richard Nixon, who had some people he knew. He didn't tell them to go and spy on the Democrat Party, but his friends wanted to do it, and they did it.
And then he found out about it.
Then he found out, and eventually he lied about it, I gather.
He just didn't come out and say he was part of it because he really wasn't.
He
just found out about it.
And here is Obama, who's actually gone, spied on another president or another candidate and released it to his friends in the media. And it's 10,000 times worse than anything Nixon ever did.
And I think this next statement, I can let Mark Levin read it here, but it talks about them normalizing it.
Normalizing
spying. Yeah. Shopping judges until they could find one
that was crooked.
They shopped the case that then they found 3 judges until he found one who let him name the reporter as a co-conspirator. The Obama administration also spied on Associated Press reporters, which the news organization called a massive, unprecedented intrusion. And though it's been long forgotten, Obama officials were caught monitoring the conversations of members of Congress who opposed the Iran nuclear deal.
Obama spied on Congress, the Senate, and also on Trump.
And news reporters. Conservative
and news reporters.
Yeah.
That is unbelievable. And Nixon did 1/10 of that.
He left office.
And they forced him out of office. But Obama did much worse and spied on his opponent and the Senate, news reporters. Nothing happened, but it's all coming out now.
Well, there was a tremendous break. And if we have to cut any part of this short, the tremendous break that's happened was that Mike Flynn's, the 3-star general, in his case, he finally got a decent lawyer at some point.
Cindy Powell, she's great.
Cindy Powell. A lot of other things have kind of happened in between, but what they were saying and what Mark was saying is that, first of all, he had hunches of all this at the beginning.
2017. Remember, I was telling you all this.
But now, and in this video that we're going to make available, in this video, he goes back and forth showing the predictions, because he used to be in a position where he was serving in a position where he heard the classified information. So he knew exactly what would be and wouldn't be. He just wasn't sitting in on Obama's. Mike Flynn, because this unmasking of people, and because they now know we've had 3 years to put this together, and we know who was at the meetings, and we know what they said, and there's enough evidence to tie this all the way back to Obama. There's at the very end of this session with Mark, he's interviewing a lady,
Molly Hemingway.
She's
an attorney, but she's also a reporter.
Okay.
I mean, she's an investigator on Capitol Hill.
She's been working on this, and she said there's no way that he could have actually
not known it.
And Mark said that too, being in the position he was in.
I've made some notes here when I first heard that. It says the National Intelligence Chief summoned to the White House included the FBI Director, the Director of National Intelligence, James Clapper, the CIA Director, John Brennan, the National Security Advisor, Susan Rice. Attending the meeting were Deputy Attorney General Sally Yates and Vice President Joe Biden. Okay, they all got together, politicized these government agencies to attack Trump. Instead of seeking justice, helping the American people, they tried to destroy the current president of the United States.
Well, let's go a step further. Remember what happened after 9/11? They had the new acts, or the Patriot Act, and then they never took that away. What they did was they weaponized that act to go further and deeper and hurt a candidate running for president. They actually used what was law to be unlawful. They're supposed to, like you said, have justice, and they didn't.
Instead of the FBI protecting the American people, they turned against the sitting president of the United States and tried to kick him out of office.
And remember, this is not all the FBI. James Comey.
The
top part, the top echelon.
President Obama distorted the FBI and turned it from an organization to protect the American people into an organization to attack the American people and their duly elected president. Can you imagine that? That's 10,000 times more than Nixon ever did. And now it's all coming out. They've got the proof and the documentation.
And so many of these people were present at this meeting. These papers and these things are actually from Freedom of Information Act, what they call 302
face support.
And they even got some of the stuff from the Schiff hearings.
He hasn't released anything. Can you imagine if one of our Republican leaders didn't release something under an impeachment hearing?
It was a kangaroo court. Everybody knew it except, well, the Democrats do it too, but
some of the people out there don't.
We're going to make these things available for them to see and judge for themselves. Levin does an excellent job, and I understand he's going to come up with a second part.
Yes, it's supposed to be this Sunday. At least that's what it was on his Facebook page.
It's amazing that dear Nixon had a friend who tried to spy on the other party, and they kicked him out of office, forced him out of office. Here's Obama, who has intentionally spied on other American citizens and the President of the United States, and he has weaponized the FBI and all those other people we just mentioned.
And you remember when Trump was running and he kept saying, I am being spied on. And I didn't doubt it for a second, but everybody laughed at him.
They laughed at him because they control the media.
They said he was crazy.
The media is bought and paid for.
That was one of the things that the media was actually trying to say, what do you mean wiretapping? It was the New York Times that actually used the term wiretapping, and he was simply repeating the term wiretapping.
Well, it's all coming out now.
It is.
Well, as God says in his Bible, no deeds of darkness will go unturned. The light will be revealed, and light is being revealed on all this stuff.
We have this on a DVD that we can send you if you would like a copy of all of this evidence that showed that Obama was spying on the President of the United States and using the FBI and CIA and all these other government agencies to spy on the President of the United States.
Can you imagine?
I can't.
They're still trying to spy. And that also, I think, ties in with the whole coronavirus thing. All these things tie in. Traitor,
treason.
First they did Russiagate, and then it was Ukrainian deal, the dossier, and then it was
the impeachment.
And so now, I don't know if they deliberately started it. We can't prove that. But since it happened, and a lot of these people like Biden and Pelosi have financial ties to China. Now that we know. It wouldn't surprise me none if somehow that's why they kept the virus being opened to the public. Kept it quiet. And so it spread around the world because was it you said?
They had at least a week.
Or longer.
They really had it longer. They knew about it way back in December.
October is their first case.
President Trump said, this has been quoted as saying, this deal just doesn't feel the same. He's so mad. He said, this deal just doesn't feel the same to me right now.
The evidence and the proof is all coming out now that Obama and his henchmen in the FBI and the CIA and all of these other government agencies that you and I as taxpayers are paying for, they're working against us